Glory Kickboxing, you got to remember, you have to be elite just to even make the roster. And to become a champion or a title contender in Glory, you have to be literally one of the best fighters in the entire world. And Alex Pereira is making these guys look like amateurs.
One of the great pound-for-pound strikers on the planet, Alex Pereira.
Jeez, what power that Pereira had.
And now Pereira going for the finish! What a leaping knee!
I think he's hurt. That left kick ended. And now Simon and he got caught with a left hook. 3, 4. What a big bomb. Pereira looking to make history here.
Doing it in an entertaining, destructive way that we had never seen before. And I remember telling Joseph Valtellini, I was like, man, we may be looking at the greatest kickboxer that we've ever seen.
I mean, seeing Alex Pereira build in kickboxing, I kind of knew he was going to be something special. I mean, the way he fought, the confidence he had, his build, his style, I mean, just his whole aura of not being a talker and just that stoic look. He had something special in him.
This was someone who would just smoke the middleweight division. When you have talent like that, it's critical to give them a platform.
So as good as Alex Pereira was at this time, I mean, he's the interim light heavyweight champion, he's a reigning middleweight champion. No one's coming close to beating this guy. But outside of the ring, he just didn't have that juice, he didn't have that notoriety, namely because he was from Brazil and he didn't speak English. I mean, Glory is very invested into the Netherlands. Most of the champions came from that country or from Europe. So we got a guy from Brazil who's coming over here trying to win the hearts and minds of the fans, and the only way he was going to be able to do it was with his fists. And finally, he got to do it on the grandest stage that we have, and that's the Collision stage.
Well, let's start out talking about Poatan, perhaps the best striker in the world today, 31-6, and he's a 2-division champ.
Yeah, and he just keeps getting better, and that's why he's so scary.
In Collision 2, when Alex fought Eterul Bayrak, it was just, I think, what Pereira does best.
So the bell rings as Alex Pereira is facing off against the #1 contender in the world, Ertugrul Bayrak, and literally you could tell 10 seconds into this fight that he didn't have a snowball's chance in hell.
That fight there, I mean, he was patient. We didn't know what was going to happen. Bayrak's a fighter who needs to kind of pressure you and use volume, but again, it's that left hook counter that doesn't even look like he tries that kind of puts you out. And the way Bayrak fell, it was kind of one of the scariest knockouts you can see.
Bayrak threw, Pereira countered right with the right hook.
No, his nose is already bleeding. And left hook right at the bell, and that is it. Hands of stone. Alex Poatan Pereira.
That left hook.
He's a huge dude, and he made Ertugrul Bayrak look like just a tiny little man. And he absolutely destroyed him with one of his best highlight reel knockouts ever, that left hook right at the bell of round 1.
I knew it took 1 or 2 more, and that was right on. Wow.
You know, they talk about fighters when they go to the UFC that they get the jitters, that the adrenaline dump. Alex had been there already. Alex had fought in front of more people before he ever got to the UFC. And I would venture a guess that he may have fought in front of more people at our event than he did in any UFC event since, just thinking about audience size. Collision is the place where talent like that gets elevated.
So at Collision 3, 2 weeks before the fights happen, we have a bit of chaos. Alistair Overeem cannot fight Rico Verhoeven. So what are we going to do? Well, we got Jamal bin Sadiq on the card. So let's put the Goliath in against Rico. But then all of a sudden, well, what about his opponent? So Benjamin Adegbuyi ends up fighting Plazabot, and Plazabot was supposed to fight James McSweeney. So now James McSweeney doesn't have an opponent, and it's the perfect moment for Gokhan Saki to swoop in and make his return to glory.
Probably one of the bigger role models for me in kickboxing. He's known as Turkish Taishan because of those explosive combinations, amazing low kicks. He knocked out Daniel Guida with an 18-strike combination that was just wild to see. He easily is one of the most exciting kickboxers in all of kickboxing.
Gokhan Saki, obviously a kickboxing and K1 legend. He's become a mixed martial arts champion as well. He went over to UFC. I was able to call his debut in Japan when he scored a fantastic knockout win, but his home was kickboxing, and the fans wanted him to come back. It had been 6 years since we'd seen him in a glory ring, and he got his chance against James McSweeney at Collision 3.
So speaking of surprises, what can the fans expect to see from you tomorrow night?
Fireworks, 100%.
I haven't seen a fireball in 5 years. Why do you see it now?
I hope you fight the way you talk shit, my friend.
I'm not talking shit, I'm just saying it.
Then you can give some fight.
This is the truth. This is not talking shit, this is just the truth.
So the build-up for McSweeney and Saki was certainly entertaining. At the press conference, basically, McSweeney, for the lack of a direct quote from him, was saying that Gokhan Saki was fat, he was out of shape, and he's partying every night in Istanbul. And he has no business near a kickboxing ring. And then Saki's like, listen, you're not even on my league. Sure, I'm taking this fight on 10 days notice. I don't even need to go to the gym to beat your ass.
What have we seen in 5 years?
I see.
I watched your last 3 fights.
Talking
We're
money.
not talking about 10 years ago. We're talking about the last 3 fights you had.
This will talk.
Long hand. It's delusional.
So that was where we were at as we headed down to that showdown. McSweeney saying there's no way you're in shape, you can't beat me. And Saki saying, I don't need to be in shape to beat you.
You said you got 2 weeks notice. That's all you need to beat someone like James McSweeney?
Exactly like this, not more.
All right.
Seeing Saki come out for Collision 3 was just something special for me. I hadn't seen him fight in so many years, and I never got to commentate a Gokhan Saki fight.
The Turkish fans and the Dutch fans that were in that building made their voices heard. They love them some Gokhan Saki.
So just seeing him walk out again, seeing the excitement that the fans had, the Turkish fans, even the Dutch fans. I mean, the whole world loves Gokhan Saki, let's be honest.
He is the former light heavyweight champion of the world. He is Gokhan the Rebel Saki.
In the ring, I mean, we saw old Saki in there. I mean, great combinations, but the combinations led to these back leg low kicks, and Saki power punches, attack the back leg, power punches, attack the back leg, until you see James McSweeney limping, and then ultimately Saki got the finish with low kicks. McSweeney couldn't get up, and it was just a huge moment for me because it was like seeing Saki back. We didn't know the state he was going to be into, and if you even see his celebration, he's running, jumping, he went through the ropes, he ran and jumped that big mic and kind of like bear hugged him. So I think it was just nice. So you knew it meant a lot to Gokhan himself. I mean, that's probably the hardest thing to come back as a fighter after so many years, to know if you still have it, and then to get a finish on the big stage in Collision. So I think it was just a great moment for kickboxing to see Gokhan Saki get his hand raised, and by finish in Saki fashion. If you were a long-time kickboxing fan, you know how big Alistair Overeem was in the sport. I mean, just the demolition man.
Alistair Overeem, an absolute legend in mixed martial arts. You pick the discipline. This guy has done it all. He's going to be in multiple Hall of Fames when all is said and done. But, after 10 years in the UFC, there was the buzz in the Netherlands that, wait a minute, maybe he's down to have just one final fight. The fight we've all wanted to see the rematch from. I mean, it was tied 1-1. Alistair Overeem versus Badr Hari. Can we get him to do it? And it was kind of a groundswell of rumors and innuendos, and is it going to happen? And then finally, bang, 2022, it's on. Alistair Overeem is going to put on the glory gloves and go one-on-one with the bad boy Badr Hari.
Having this trilogy fight at Collision, I think it was a big moment for kickboxing fans, right? We've seen in the past what they did outside of glory. They were one apiece, kind of knocking each other out. So this third fight was the final chapter of this rivalry, and I think it was one that was needed. I thought it was a fun fight because of the past and them having one win over each other. So they kind of had that confidence that they were going to both be able to beat each other. Biggest stage in kickboxing. So I think it was the right moment, the right time for these guys. The fight started, it was Overeem kind of doing a different style than maybe we've seen from him in the old kickboxing days and then what he was in MMA. But I would say it was a little bit more of an MMA style. He kind of stayed lower, the way he was walking forward. He knew that Badr Hari was a big puncher. And when you fight a big puncher, you don't want to stay at range and let them hit you. So he did the right thing of staying low in a nice high guard, and he was kind of trying to split the guard, moving his head offline. Even when Badr Hari would open up the throw, Overeem would stay nice and close and kind of try to stay on the inside to take away that power. So he had that right style of kind of staying low, using his jabs to get on the inside, and he would just find sneaky punches up in the mid-range. He'd find the little uppercut that rocked Badr's head once in a while. I had to give an advantage of Badr Hari going into this fight. I mean, fighting Rico 2 times, you know he had great camps for those, trained hard for them. Overeem not being in kickboxing. So I was kind of thinking that Badr was going to be the big favorite going into this one, but Overeem had the right style. His years of combat sport experience really helped him in this fight and ended up getting the hand raised at the end. So I remember after the fight, we saw a moment where you had, Badr Hari, Rico Verhoeven, and Alistair Overeem all together in the ring having a moment. And I think if those who know kickboxing and the history of kickboxing, we're unique when it comes to combat sports. I think a lot of people think there's so much tension in between the fighters. I mean, all the fighters respect each other. We all know what Badr Hari did for the sport, what Overeem did to the sport to pave the way for the new generation like myself and Rico Verhoeven. So to see the moment together, I think just kind of solidified to me why our sport is special, and I hope the rest of the world saw that as well.